Hey, what's going on, everybody? It's Flute from Winhance, and I know it's been a little bit, but I promise it was worth it. We are back with an extremely exciting update. This is the Winhance 2.4 update, and it is a big one because we are officially finally merging our two code bases. So from this day forth, it'll no longer be Winhance Legacy and Winhance Living Glass version. It is just Winhance because we have brought over our overlay features into the living glass version of Winhance. So we will be sunsetting Legacy, and we highly recommend that anybody who is downloading Winhance moving forward downloads this version, and this will be the only version on the website once we go to our full public release. This version here is currently live as of September 6th for our Patreon and Discord members. And it'll go live to everybody else in a couple of weeks. And that is specifically when we will be sunsetting the legacy version from our website. So I would remove that from your devices if you have that. So what exactly does a merged code base mean? Well, the big thing here is that our big legacy features, such as our command center with control over TDP, your ability to change your different AMD like settings like AMD motion fluid motion frames, refresh rate, all of that stuff, including AutoPilot, which is our machine learning model that actually pays attention to multiple different aspects of your device and will adjust your performance in order to give you the best battery life possible while hitting a specific frame rate. All of that has been brought into the living glass version of Winhanced. Additionally, we also brought over our game options, but we'll talk about all of that in just a second. You'll also notice that there's a little bit of an integration here with Xbox Game Bar. All of this is to be explained, but let's go over some basic library features that I want to talk about first. So one, a big thing is in a previous version of Winhance, we did give everyone the ability to actually go in and install a new game from their specifically supported libraries by clicking install, and the same thing can be done for uninstalling. However, we understand that that is not always the case and is not always the easiest way to access a game. So we've actually built into Winhance now, if I can actually hit stuff, there we go. We've actually built it into Winhance to where it can actually recognize external installs and uninstalls from supported libraries. So if I can download Brawlhalla here really quickly, it's a relatively fast game to install, so let's give it a couple of moments here. You'll notice some refreshing is happening in the background. That's because Winhance can now recognize when a game has been uninstalled in the background and actually update the UI in order to reflect that. The same thing can also be done for uninstalling games as well. Next, let's talk about settings and how you'll access all these amazing new legacy features within this version of the app. If you go over to the settings page and you go into performance, there's a bunch of new menu options here. Now, the one thing that I will call out within this release that's going to be going to the Patreon users, but hopefully before we go to the public release, there's still no controller support for the settings page. I'm just lazy and I haven't gotten around to setting it up because it's a pain in the butt, but I will do it. But for now, you would just go to the settings page here and you'll notice there's a few new options here. Before, it used to just be the enable custom power plan on sleep. However, you'll notice that we have launch Winhance and startup still. We have use Winhance overlay. This is in this version of the app, and this allowed the user to basically use the hardware keys to like launch our in-app overlay. We will actually be removing this because we've decided to go full force with our Xbox widget instead because it accomplishes the same thing in a much easier and more streamlined package. But the big call out feature that I want to mention here at the top is this remap special buttons to open Xbox overlay. So for supported devices, which right now are Ally X or Asus Ally devices, both the Ally and the Ally X, as well as for Legion Go devices, if you push your hardware key, in the case of this Ally X, it's our armor key, and you have this checked, pressing that button basically remaps it to the Xbox Guide button and will open the Game Bar so that you can access all the Game Bar goodness, including the new Winhanced HUD, which is our in-app overlay replacement. If you do not have this on, your hardware keys will operate as normal. So hitting Armory Crate will just open Armory Crate, and hitting the command center will enter the command center of that Asus or your hardware manufacturer provides. I leave it on because I like accessing the sidebar. The other thing that we'll call out here on this page as well is with the launch Winhance at startup, when you turn this on, Winhance will go to work. It'll do some stuff with the registry, and then it will essentially register Winhance as a startup app. So what that'll end up doing is when you restart your device, it will restart, you'll log in, it'll take a couple of seconds, and then boom, you'll be right into Winhanced. No need to manually launch it anymore. Okay, now let's talk about the big stuff, which is all of the new Xbox Game Widget features that have been brought into this version of the app. Let's launch a game. Now I am in Sleeping Dogs, and if you're wondering why Sleeping Dogs, it's an old game. I feel like it's a really good way to show all of the different ways that the features work within the app here. So we're playing a game. We're not getting the best frame rate in the world right now. Like if you can see it in the top right corner, you probably can't. It's around 20 to 34 frames per second, right? So 33, 36 frames per second. Well, as you just saw, I have my hardware keys remapped. So if I go ahead and I hit that Armory Crate button, it loads up the Xbox Game Bar for me. I can go over to Winhance, and I can see that I'm currently on my silent profile, which is like 7 watts. It's basically decreasing the amount of wattage that's going to your CPU, which is giving you better battery life, but less performance. However, if I were to go ahead and increase this up to one of our performance profile, we've now jumped all the way up to 119. So this is feeding the Z1 Extreme around, I believe, 25 watts, if I'm not mistaken. But you can see overall a lot smoother gameplay. Now, we also, in this update, introduced AutoPilot. AutoPilot's been available for folks in our legacy version for testing for a few weeks. It is now an official program that we've brought into the Winhanced app as a whole. So what AutoPilot does is it monitors several key factors of your device. So CPU performance, your GPU, how the game is performance, what your frame rate is. It's understanding all of that, and then it's running it through a custom machine learning model that we built, and then adjusting different aspects of your device. So like your refresh rates, as well as your TDP on the fly to make sure that you are hitting whatever your target frame rate is or better with that amount of performance that you want. So let's show this in practice. I just put on AutoPilot and I put my target FPS to 60. If I go ahead and I exit now, I can see that I'm getting 90 to 100 frames. So it's not as many frames as I was getting on the performance profile, but that's because I put my target FPS as 60. So it's really just trying to make sure that I'm doing better than 60 and not really giving me a bunch of better extra performance. So it's actually saving me battery life in this way. Now, the other thing that I can do is if I go into here and now I go in and I decide I want to lock my frame rate to 60 hertz. And I have this little indicator here for refresh rate equals frame rate limit. So if you uncheck this, you can actually manually choose between your frame rate limit and your refresh rate. I like to keep them locked because it kind of makes sense to do it that way. So I have my refresh rate. I'm going to lock it to 60. It'll do its little refresh. And now when I get back into the game, AutoPilot goes to work. And now it is just locking me at a consistent 60 while messing with all of those factors in the background to make sure that we are using and sipping on as little battery life as possible. And I could just go in and I could just play the game like this. So that's what's really, really great about the all of the features with AutoPilot. Now, the other thing that I want to call out here in the Winhanced overlay is that we also introduced the ability for custom. So you can go into here, and if you hit the custom key, it'll actually give you a slider, which you can then go in and you can manually choose what you want your TDP to be on. This is based on the device that is supported. So the Ally X is one of our supported devices, and we have it from going from 5 TDP all the way up to 30 TDP. And you can actually go in and you can manually choose what you want your TDP to be. All right. The other things that to call out are the features that existed over in the Legacy app as well, which were our AMD Radeon options like AMD Motion Fluid Flames, Super Sampling, Anti-Lag. All of that stuff is here. You can toggle these on, and it'll turn the feature on within the app, which will then turn it on within the Radeon software, so that you can use your fluid frames and get that extra AI frames if that's really what you're after. The last little bit that we'll talk about with the overlay, of course, is game options. If you navigate up to the top here where the tab is and you swipe over, this is going to be your game options. So you can see we're bringing in the current game session, which right now is at 8 minutes. My total playtime within Sleeping Dogs is 2 hours, and I have unlocked 2 achievements. We also have the game art. And what we brought into here is obviously our ability to exit the game easily, but also universal pause is back. I can press this button on any game, and it pauses the process. So I can be in the middle of a cutscene that I can't pause. I can pause it, grab myself a snack, come back, get right back into the game. It is amazing. It's also great for those games where there's just a lot of sound happening all at once. Go back in. Seems to be a little bit of an issue right now where it wants to crash the app. This is another bug that we will get sorted out by the full release of this. But as you can see, I restarted it. Go back in, hit resume game, close the overlay, and we are right back in it. And then obviously, it wouldn't be Winhanced if you didn't have the ability to very quickly exit the game. When you see this happen, it's going to take you down to back to the desktop. The game monitoring service is going to monitor in the background for the closure of the app. It is then going to do the reverse animation and bring you back in. And then also, after about 10 seconds or so, it's going to clear all of the weird background processes that could have potentially started when you launched the game. Think of those things like the Ubisoft launcher, EA launcher, all those extra services. Since those weren't open before you opened up the game, Winhance knows that, it goes in and it closes all of those out. So you start from a fresh state every single time. Let's very quickly talk about logistics and how updating is working going forward. So one of the big casualties of merging these two code bases is the fact that I had to remove this from our MSIX packaging, which is what I had the Living Glass version working as for a while. This is actually a good thing because it does give us more control over what the app is allowed to do and is able to control, as well as it makes monitoring and finding game processes a heck of a lot easier. However, one of the big casualties of doing this is that we do not have automatic app updates anymore. So with the Living Glass version, essentially if you restarted Winhance, it would check the Microsoft servers and then pull in the latest update and just update the app for you. Unfortunately, that is going away. However, we still will have our over-the-air updates working for this version of the app. Similar to how we did it in Legacy, essentially what will end up happening is whenever we release an update to the main app, you'll have a little indicator which lets you know that the update is ready. I'm also thinking that's what we will be using our settings for as well over here in Update Center, which is not currently built out yet. But I believe what we want to go ahead and do is actually have like a list of the updates and like all the features for the latest update showing within the section when an update is available as well. But that remains to be seen on if we were going to be doing that within this release or in a follow-up release. But you will still be able to update the app, and obviously we will alert you within the app and within all of our social channels when a huge update is available for people to download. The last thing that I'll also call out as well when it comes to updates is this is not the same thing for the Winhanced HUD. The Winhanced HUD is actually a packaged application because it's built into the Xbox Game Bar as a UWP app. So whenever we push an update to the Winhanced HUD, that'll actually just automatically show up on your device. So think of Winhanced HUD and Winhanced almost as two separate experiences that work well with each other. You do still need to have Winhanced installed in order for Winhanced Hub to work, but we can push changes to the Winhanced HUD without you needing to update the entire app. Lastly, I just want to go ahead and say that I am recording this video prior to actually uploading the installer to Patreon or to our supporter chat within Discord. But that is to say that you can get this update as of Saturday, September 6th, either through the supporter updates channel within our Discord server, or I will be posting the link with the patch notes directly into our Patreon as well for our $5 members and above. Speaking of Patreon members, I do want to give a huge shout out to one of our Patreon producers, Raven. Thank you so much. As well as to everybody who supports us through our Patreon. You are amazing and you really help keep this project alive. I'll post a link to the Patreon and our Discord server in the description of this video. But yeah, that's everything for update 0.2.4. It's a huge one. We finally are back down to one code base, which means moving forward, we can really focus in on stability and making this the most polished Winhance experience it can be, as well as get back to adding all those features that I promised way back in the day, like starting with lossless scaling. Alrighty, y'all. Until next time, I'll see you all in the next update. Bye.